Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, this is Chris. I'm here with Craig, and we are back live on Facebook Live here for episode 32 of Final Score. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it's been quite the week.
Yeah, it's been quite the week. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of craziness in sports. I'm just going to go ahead and dust this off a little bit.
Nice. Smudge it off, a team you should have destroyed.
Hey, now, it's a rivalry game. You can never count out the rivals.
It's okay. I have no excuse for Michigan's poor play this week.
I mean... maybe next time, Gipper. Anyways, so it's going to be a fun episode. Got a lot to talk about. But make sure that if you want to be able to see all the great things that we talk about, that you have to go see all of our great platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Play Music. Make sure you go on there, search keyword Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow. Check out everything that we have. Give us a download. Maybe drop us a line, you know. We'd like to have fun with our fans. And then also follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But... it's time to hit the ground running. We got a lot to talk about today, starting with the good old college football weekly pick'em.
Yeah, we both had a bounce back week here.
Yeah, we did.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah,
last week was tough, man. You went 8-8. I went 6-10.
We bounced back though heavily.
This week we bounced back very well. We both went 12-4, even though we had a couple different picks.
We did. Good week, sir. Good week.
Yeah, thank you. Good week for you too.
Oh,
it's a good week.
Thank you.
It's a good week. A lot of the picks we both had this week were both the same pick. So as far as both picked Oklahoma over Texas,
right.
Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Alabama, Clemson, Iowa State, Minnesota, Penn State, Notre Dame, LSU, Boise State.
Yeah, what happened to that Maryland pick of ours? I don't know what happened there.
Maryland is such a weird team this year. Like they'll score 60 points in a game on a ranked team,
and then get blown out by 60 by Penn State.
Yeah, and then get blown out.
Oh, sorry,
twice.
Too far?
Twice actually, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then they go on the road and get blown out by Purdue as the favored team.
Yeah, Purdue's been really struggling this year, so that was a big surprise probably to a lot of people.
You know, it could have been those cool uniforms they were wearing those nice NASA astronaut-inspired uniforms. They're pretty tight looking. Yeah,
those were really cool, and it's really funny because you usually see that out of Maryland where they go with the weird, different alternate uniforms, but
always trying to incorporate their flag, which God love them, you try.
They try. Do you remember the one where they did the turtle shell?
Oh, geez.
I actually like those.
I was 50-50, but it was different.
Was it half turtle shell and then the other half was the flag or something?
I believe so, yeah.
I actually
tried to meld the two.
Those were kind of cool.
And it's a terrapin, sir. A terrapin.
Yes, a terrapin. I apologize.
But we also ended up missing picks with Memphis and Temple. Temple ended up getting the big win at home against previously
I almost picked Temple. I was like, man, Temple's such a good team, and Memphis is really all offense. And
well, you remember when Notre Dame went into Temple a few years back and how much trouble they had as a ranked team going in there.
Yeah, Temple plays everybody tough. It doesn't matter if they're ranked or not. But they play everyone tough, especially at home. You got college kids that aren't used to that big of a stadium. Like they play at the Link.
Oh yeah,
and I mean that's NFL stadium.
That's big time football.
I mean, not many other teams actually do that.
No, not many do.
So it's probably got to be a pretty big eye opener for a team like Memphis to come in. But but yeah, Temple played really well and they did just enough to win.
But Virginia traveling on the road as the number 20th ranked team in the country to take on Florida, Miami, that is, and what happened? Miami seems like they might take steps forward, then they just take steps back.
I honestly don't know. I was kind of surprised that Miami was favored to begin with, but I honestly did not watch this game, so I have no idea what happened.
I sadly did, and it was not.
That was on Friday. Yeah, I was working actually Friday night, so I didn't get a chance to see that.
Being a hardworking man.
It's getting to be busy season, all right, and I'm super busy right now.
It is, but. Man, I tell you what, it was just a crazy game. Virginia ends up losing this one. We both missed this one. I don't know how we did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Virginia falls out of the top 25 here after this. Because, I mean, Florida's been struggling, as you mentioned, a lot this year.
Right.
Winning games that they're not supposed to. What did I say, Florida?
You did. I caught you with
Miami, Florida.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami, Florida.
Yes,
the
Miami.
Hurricanes, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, there you go. We're not very hurricane-y.
Not right now.
No, they were more tropical storm.
Yeah, they were much more tropical storm. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that they came out pretty flat from what I understand.
Oh, very flat.
So, but yeah, that was a tough game for them to lose, especially in the ACC where you're just trying to keep pace with Clemson at this point.
Yeah, that's what everything comes down to. And there's been some surprise teams like Wake Forest who had their own issues and lost. The ACC seems to be pretty cannibalistic at certain points, and it's pretty much Clemson and everybody else right now. So it's just trying to keep up to even have a representative to take on Clemson in the ACC title games, even becoming a chore.
Yeah, and until like a Florida State makes a comeback as a program, it's still going to be Clemson and everybody else, I think.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree, and it's going to be really tough sledding. And I know that the ACC has been kind of in their own turnover of teams leaving, teams joining the conference, and so forth. I don't know. Maybe if they can kick Notre Dame, in the rear, get them maybe to actually join, they can actually have somebody that can compete against Clemson. Hey,
good luck. There's a lot of money in that.
A lot of money in that.
There's a lot of money for Notre Dame they'd be leaving on the table if they join the ACC.
I mean, if they kept the NBC contract, though, I think they could pull it off. But I don't see the ACC want to do that with the ACC network. So
yeah, they just launched that this year. There's no way they're gonna.
I mean, it's Notre Dame though. What if Notre Dame was like wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Notre Dame gets shown every week, but ACC games on NBC.
What? No, because ESPN is too big of a conglomerate anymore.
That's true.
It's way too big of a. They own. I mean, you got all the ESPN sub networks. You got ABC now that's in the same roof.
That's true,
and that's a huge audience. So there's no way that ABC and the NBC are gonna.
No, that's probably true. But at the end of the day, though, look at some of the games that we picked different on. Washington State traveling down to number 18. Arizona State favored by 1. And Arizona State, they had a squeak this one out, ended up taking it 38-34.
Yeah, this game I figured would be for the type of a game that Washington State had a couple weeks ago, that huge, massive shootout game. I think it was UCLA, right? That was the UCLA game. But I figured Arizona State bound to have another letdown game. They just come off a huge win last week. This game ended up being very close at the end. Washington State had a chance with like 30 seconds left. We couldn't pull it off.
Midfield.
Yeah. And Arizona State, credit to them and their defense. Herm Edwards has got them playing some good football.
He does. Herm Edwards has a recipe cooking down there in the desert, and it's going to be crazy to see what Arizona State can do the rest of the season.
You play to win the game.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's one of my favorite coach snips of all time.
Just wait till I make some more upgrades, because as if you're watching us live right now on Facebook Live, you notice our whole little look is a little bit different.
Yeah, we've upgraded. We're on like 2.5 right now.
Yeah, we're at 2.5. 3.0's coming though. I already have things in the works.
Perfect.
Already have things in the works. Just wait, because I'm gonna end up introducing something. It's gonna be real fun.
Sweet.
The I'm a man, I'm 40 moment, Anyways, so last game though we picked differently on Washington traveling to Arizona. Washington favored by 6.5, and I thought maybe Khalil Tate could make it happen for Arizona, and he tried. Oh boy, did he try! But
yeah, Kevin Sumlin's done a great job of turning that program. Not necessarily around, because they had some success, and then Rich Rod was there. They did okay, and then they kind of trailed off.
Yeah.
Brought in Sumlin, but Washington, they've had a couple of tough games, dropped a couple tough games this year. But
definitely,
I mean, they're still one of the top teams in the Pac-12. But I don't think anybody really was expecting this kind of a game where they put a 50 burger on Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really expected that, and it was very close early. Honestly, they were kind of hanging in there. It was like 13-10 at one point. Arizona trying to hang in there and drive, and it just ended up getting away from them. And Washington ended up capitalizing and taking the win. But looking at what we have here, you can see all of our overall picks and how we did last week. Yeah, did much better this week. I think I finally broke 80 wins on the year.
Yeah, so you're at 83-36, and I am one shy of that. I'm at 79, one shy of 80. Let me say that.
How many losses though?
40.
Oof. Oof.
Literally only 4 games behind you.
Oof. It's okay, but you know where you are, though? Still behind me. So,
but I love your win percentage right now.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's
your
good.
pick percentage is great.
Oh, I know.
69%.
That's right. Winners.
I'm at 66% with my 79-40 record.
2/3. I'll give it to you.
Well, not too bad. Not too bad.
Not too bad.
My NFL picks are much better, actually.
I'm not going to talk about those with me. But at the end of the day, definitely was a crazy week of football. Definitely a lot of great football that's going to be coming up as well. But we got to look back at some of our game ball top performers. What do you got?
My first game ball, I'm going to that Washington State, Arizona State game, just the QB duel that happened in that game.
That was crazy.
On Washington State side, Anthony Gordon went 44 of 64, 466 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Ooh.
Jaden Daniels on the other side, 26 of 36, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But the reason I point him out is he had a 10 yard average.
That's crazy.
Every completion he had went at least 10 yards. That's crazy.
That's absolutely crazy. For my first game ball top performer, wide receiver John Hightower of Boise State. Boise State ended up going out and ended up winning 59-37 on the blue turf over Hawaii. And along the way, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 7 receptions. I'll tell you what, absolutely killed it.
Yeah, hell of a game by him in that. Boise State looking like the team that's going to be the Group of 5 team this year.
Oh, yeah, now the UCF's getting knocked off its high horse.
Barring a crazy, crazy letdown. Right. But I'm going to the LSU Florida game for my next game ball, and I'm going to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had 13 carries, 134 yards, and 2 scores, and helped carry that offense along with Joe Burrow, who I believe that is your game ball.
I mean,
for that game.
I mean, when he's handed off to a guy who might just be hilarious.
I see what you did. I like it.
Hilarious running, backed by hilarious passing by quarterback Joe Burrow, who's my next pick, who I tell you what, looked phenomenal. 21 of 24 for 293 yards and 3 touchdowns, looking absolutely amazing in this game, and why I think he still might just be the Heisman front runner.
He's my Heisman pick right now. I don't care what Jalen Hurts is doing. He had the media's all concerned now. You know how in wrestling they talk about the WrestleMania moment, and now it's this big thing. Like everyone needs to have their WrestleMania moment.
Oh, that's what it's all about now.
Now it's all about the Heisman moment, and literally that's what on. You
gotta do it to get the Heisman house.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts apparently had his Heisman moment where he was escaping a sack and took the ball from his right hand and moved it behind his back.
Yes, I saw
and he
that.
almost lost it, by the way.
Yeah, that's a very risky move and one your coach normally is going to yell at you about. So
I don't care about the Heisman moment. I care about a guy who went 21 of 24, 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards.
Surgical.
Destroying a top 10 team.
Yes.
And
with
when
a
we
great
get to
defense, by the way.
get to top 25s.
Oh, it's
yeah. I got some talk. I got some talk
nice.
About the Tigers.
Oh, it's going to be nice. I tell you what. But looking at some of the other ones I have a group of gentlemen, a whole group, entire group, a big group of Notre Dame rushing attackers. And it was absolutely amazing. Did you see any of that Notre Dame USC game?
I did not.
Oh, you need to prepare for this rushing attack, sir, because it's going to hit the big house in 2 weeks. And that was led by Tony Jones Jr., who had 25 carries, 176 yards. Looked absolutely amazing. And there's one guy I am going to pull up in this, because overall they had 308 rushing yards as a team, which is absolutely insane. Ian Book even got some in there, 49 yards and a touchdown. But Brendan Lindsay, 1 rush, just 1. 51 yards and a touchdown, showing why he was an Oregon track star and set state records in high school for the 200-meter relay. And blazing speed. You're going to have to watch out for that come 2 weeks from now.
That's a big rushing attack. I mean, that's just big play. That's got a home run hitter all written all over him there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What do you got for your last one?
I'm going with Warren Jackson. I'm going to go with small school this time.
Okay, small school.
I like to throw in help for the little guy. You know, I like to throw in help for the smaller schools. Warren Jackson from Colorado State, wide receiver, in their 35-21 win over New Mexico. Mm-hmm. 9 receptions, 214 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, buddy!
Yikes! It's like a 23-yard average.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, man.
That's nuts.
Let me get that guy on my team. Let's do it. But moving forward for the final score power rankings top 25. Gonna be wild. There's gonna be a lot of movement because there's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
I know, that's the elephant in the room.
The massive elephant in the room, and we're not talking about the Crimson Tide. We're talking about the one Georgia Bulldogs who got upset in double overtime by South Carolina.
And at home, no less. I can see. Okay, maybe on the road you have a letdown game and whatever.
Notre Dame couldn't even win there.
At home, you beat a team like Notre Dame. And then you turn around a couple weeks later and lose to South Carolina, who, with the win, improved to 3-3 and 2-2 in their conference.
Oh, Jesus.
They had a losing record.
And it's the first time they've beaten a ranked team on the road in like 16 tries or something, or 20 tries.
Yeah, they were down 17-10 at halftime.
Yeah, and Jake Fromm threw an uncharacteristic 3 interceptions in this game, one of which was his first career pick 6. Which was, did you see that play? That was absolutely amazing. Just snagged it out of the air and took it the other way.
Yeah, 3 interceptions by Jake Fromm, 4 total turnovers by the Bulldogs. And looking at their stat sheet for this game, it doesn't make sense why South Carolina won this game other than the turnovers.
Absolutely.
South Carolina had 11 penalties in the game. They were outgained in every category by Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, everything. But the turnovers killed them. Turnovers killed them. And realistically, I mean, if you're a Georgia fan, you can wave your playoff hopes goodbye.
Oh, yeah. That one pretty much is going to put the nail in the coffin. Unless you literally somehow dominate every single team the rest of your schedule and dominate the SEC title game, you're still going to have a slim pickings of getting in.
Well, now, even if they win out and win the SEC championship game, that means they're going to have to play against Bama, which would automatically get them in. But what hurts their chances? Oh, absolutely. SEC champion is getting in. Don't give me that. No. Because if Georgia gets all the way to the SEC title game, wins out, and then plays Bama and wins, Bama's still going to be undefeated at that point.
Maybe. Thing is, LSU is a big hurdle for Alabama now. After
where is the game though? Is it at Tuscaloosa or is it in Baton Rouge? Because that makes a big difference. That's gonna make a huge difference.
It is in Alabama,
and then I would feel much more comfortable about Bama.
Yeah, I mean, they can keep the students actually in the student section, and not have to strap them down with apps to track where they are to make sure they attend the whole game. And
it's because
all that, but
LSU is a much different opponent than the Citadel, who they schedule 3 weeks a year.
Yeah, which they had trouble with last year, but let's not talk about that.
But no, it doesn't hurt or doesn't help Georgia's chances that Florida lost on the road at LSU because those two play each other every year in Jacksonville.
That's right.
But
coming up next week, if I'm not,
it doesn't help Georgia's argument.
It doesn't really. And if Georgia has any chance, like I said, they're going to have to win out, which honestly would help other teams' chances like Notre Dame's, just because, that's their only loss right now. So a lot of teams are really kind of looking at this whole situation. But the thing I look at is the SEC going to end up cannibalizing itself this year? Could we actually see a cannibalization?
They're still going to get 2 in.
Don't say 2.
They're still going to get 2 in.
I think it's only going to be 1 if they cannibalize each other. Because think about it.
They're going to get 2.
UF goes out and beats Georgia, or even the other way around. That SEC, team's going to be knocked out no matter what. Whoever's left out of that game is going to end up probably being the team that represent the SEC East in the SEC title game. In the West, though, you still have a pesky Auburn that Alabama and LSU are both going to play.
True.
LSU and Alabama still have to play each other. And there's so many different ways that this could end up turning out. So... And this is also barring any kind of crazy upset that Mississippi State might get in on, or even Ole Miss might get on. So there's a lot of things I think that still could happen. And let's not forget, Texas A&M has been a pesky team this year too for some of these SEC West teams.
Yeah, so, a pesky 3-3 this year.
A pesky 3-3.
That's real pesky.
Way to go, Jimbo. So I think there's a lot that still could happen. We're only halfway through the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a few weeks from now, and then once we start getting into November, I think we're going to have a way better idea of how everything's going to turn out.
Absolutely.
But I could see a case where only one SEC team gets in as the SEC champion, as a possible one, I can't even I'm going to say this, even 2-loss team. Depending upon how the rest of everything works out.
It depends, but I mean, remember what was it? This was a handful of years ago. We had the Alabama LSU in the championship game.
Yeah, it was the rematch.
The rematch, because earlier in the year, Bama played LSU and then the loser dropped, but because other teams lost their championship game and LSU, I think it was LSU, was idle, they jumped the other teams because of that. That could happen again this year, especially with how strong LSU is.
It very well could, but it's going to be, I really hope it doesn't, because that was horrible. I think that was horrible for college football in a lot of ways.
Because, again, you've got Oklahoma plays nobody in their conference. They had
beat their biggest test, and that was Oklahoma, and that was Texas.
Yeah, and they struggled against Texas, but you got Ohio State. They have to win out to get in.
Yeah, they're going to have to win out.
Because if they don't, it's going to be between them and Wisconsin. That's going to be it. The winner of that game gets into the playoff. But then Clemson, no competition. They're not even going to have competition in the ACC title game.
Right.
So that's going to, I think, hurt their resume. And like I already talked about Oklahoma, Notre Dame, if they win out, you have a chance, but you're going to need some help.
Going to need help. And honestly, Georgia winning out would have been their best case scenario. But now that's
because it would have strengthened your loss. But now with Georgia losing a game.
And if they somehow lose to UF, which is now a very real possibility, it's there's all kinds of scenarios. This is what I love about college football.
Yeah.
But we got to take a look at it real quick. Definitely going to take a look at what our top 25 would be. Let's write off our top 10. If you see the rest of everything, make sure that you check later on our social media accounts at PCN Final Score on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So make sure to check that out there. Who you got? Sorry, number 10.
Number 10. I got Auburn at 10.
Auburn at 10?
I got Auburn at 10. They jumped 2 spots from the previous week. They were idle, but I think that actually helped them because Florida was 7. I got them dropped to 11.
Okay.
It was because you got beat pretty badly. Yes, it was on the road. Yes, it was a team that's a top 5 team, but they're still pretty good. But I got Auburn at 10 at 5-1.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. For me, I actually have Oregon at number 10. I think they had a very nice statement win and still continue to show why they are the class of the Pac-12 right now. I had people trying to argue that USC might be able to make a push up there, but honestly, I still think Oregon is the measuring standard right now. Utah could even threaten a little, but it's going to be Oregon all day. Oregon at 10.
Number 9, I've got Penn State. Penn State, another ugly win, but hey, it was on the road at Iowa, which is a tough environment to play in. They win their game 17-12. They're 6-0. I've got them up to number 9.
I also have Penn State at number 9. They, again, was an ugly win, but against a ranked team in a hostile environment and some sweet defense they had to play to be able to pull that one out. But Penn State ended up taking it, number 9.
Number 8, I have Notre Dame. I have them staying at number 8 from last week. You squeak out a win at home against USC, who's been kind of up and down. They've played 3 different quarterbacks this year, but you're still sitting at 5-1. I have them standing pat at 8.
I also have them standing pat at 8 as well. Notre Dame did show a great rushing attack, like I mentioned earlier, especially showing some of the younger guys who are now getting touches. A lot that can happen there. Defense finally started stepping up. It ended up in this weird bend but don't break scenario, and I worry about that going forward. But either way, Notre Dame's solid enough at 5-1 and taking number 8.
Number 7, I have Wisconsin. I have them leapfrogging Notre Dame. I had them at 9 last week, but dominating win against Michigan State at home, 38-0. They're jumping Notre Dame into number 7 for me.
Yeah, I also have Wisconsin at 7. Wisconsin was number 8 for me last week, also one head of Notre Dame. So they're just keeping pace at this point. Great win against Michigan State. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more competitive of a game, but behind everything Wisconsin can do, great defensively, great offensively. Honestly, the class of the Big Ten.
Number 6, I have Georgia. Dropping from number 2 to number 6. I even had a hard time keeping them at 6. I wanted to drop them lower because South Carolina is so bad. But losing in double overtime, 2017 at home, I wanted to drop them lower, but I can't see Georgia being. I see that Georgia-Wisconsin was a toss-up for me. I almost dropped them to 7, but number 6, Georgia, 5-1.
We have like very similar rankings. I also have Georgia at 6 because honestly, I agree. While it was South Carolina, it's an SEC opponent. It took double overtime. Honestly, it was really sloppy play by them, but this is something I think they can absolutely bounce back from, especially going into a game like Florida. Now Georgia's going to be ticked off, ready to play some football. So definitely watch out when you get that game. Georgia at 6.
Number 5, I've got Clemson. Of course, you remember a couple weeks ago, I dropped them all the way to 6 because they barely beat North Carolina, who also was a terrible team in the ACC. They destroy Florida State at home, which is what they're supposed to do against their competition in the ACC if you want to be a top playoff contending team. So I have them moving up one spot to number 5. They're back in the top 5 after a couple weeks. 6-0. Clemson number 5.
God, so disrespectful. So
Absolutely.
Disrespectful. Number 5, I have.
If you want to be a top 2 team in the country, you got to destroy your competition. That's how this works.
We'll remember that when Bama starts struggling. All right. Oklahoma for me at number 5. The Sooners ended up going out and having a great win against Texas. Ended up being a lot closer than people thought it was going to be. Thought Oklahoma was going to play a little bit better. But Oklahoma is still trugging along in the Big 12 where the defense does not exist. So that offense behind Jalen Hurts is still going to figure to score a lot of points and make a big role to the Big 12 championship game.
I've got Oklahoma at number 4. I have them moving up one spot. Yes, they won at Texas. Texas is a very tough environment to win in. They won ugly, but they are the benefactor of a top 2 team losing, so they move up 1 to number 4.
I have Ohio State at 4. Ohio State, again, being Ohio State, do what they do best. So at the end of the day, Ohio State is still undefeated. I think this is going to be the team that is the measuring stick in the Big Ten. So
doing what they do best, sit on their ass, because that's what they did last week.
I mean, they can sit on their ass and still win games too, and that's what's great.
Very clearly they can.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got Ohio State at 3, so I have them moving up.
So you
again.
have them higher. They were sitting on their ass.
Yeah, because again, they're a benefactor of a top 2 team losing.
This guy.
So they move up. They move up because of Georgia moving down. So I have them moving up one spot to number 3.
I swear. Number 3, I actually have Clemson. So you think I love Clemson so much? They're top 2. Clemson at 3 for me.
I'd be throwing tables if you did not have LSU at number 2.
Clemson is 3. Very, very close to number 2, but I feel other teams now are starting to perform and show really why they are making their case for possibly not only their conference championships, but also for a national championship playoff berth. So Clemson falls here to 3 for me. Still solid, though. Wasn't too bad. Still got it done, but still have a long way to go.
I got LSU at number 2, and the national media needs to jump on this bandwagon. I've been on the Burrow bandwagon all year. I had LSU at number 3 last week. I moved them up to number 2. National media had them at 5. Get out of here. They're one of the best teams in the country right now. Orgeron actually has a quarterback that can run a high-powered offense. This is a high-powered offense we've never seen from LSU before.
No, it really isn't.
And they destroyed a Florida team that's been playing well at home. I've got them at number 2. I think they have a good shot at beating Alabama.
Ooh, he said
it's going to be tough, but I think they have a shot at beating Alabama. I got LSU at number 2.
I also have LSU at 2. They played way too strong in that 42-28 statement victory over Florida, which has a great defense right now, even though they have been dealing with injuries on that side of the ball. LSU did not care, took complete advantage, and especially with the surgical precision of Joe Burrow, the Heisman leader in my eyes. LSU solid here at number 2. Watch out. Go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers down there in the Bayou. I got Alabama at number 1. They haven't done anything to move off of that spot for me. So going on the road at Texas A&M, another tough environment. Texas A&M, they do have 3 losses now. They are against difficult opponents.
Very difficult.
But I have a trouble keeping them in the top 25 altogether because they have 3 losses. You're 3-3. You can't be a top 25 team and be be 3-3.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But Texas A&M is still going through a transition period with Jimbo Fisher getting his kind of guys in there through recruiting. So they're still taking steps and did offer a little bit of a resistance to Alabama, but Alabama did what they do best. One big. Najee Harris was a big factor in this game, along with one Tua Tagovailoa, who played pretty great game himself. So Alabama keeps rolling. Alabama's always been the class. So Alabama number 1.
Yeah, if you're a team that's making the playoffs and they always say like, okay, well, like the argument I've had against me with Clemson, well, they still won. Yeah, but it's all about style points in college football nowadays.
Exactly.
It used to be that way in the BCS. It's especially that way now in the playoff because you're jockeying for position. You want all the national media members and the voters that vote teams in the playoff. You want them on your side. If you're a top 4 team, you have to be destroying people in style, and that is exactly what Alabama does every week. So I have no reason to move them off the number 1 spot.
Gosh, and you got to watch out for them. But that LSU-Alabama game, when that happens on November 2nd, is going to be the game to watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they break some records as far as viewership is concerned.
Absolutely. But you know what? It's been a crazy, crazy week of college football. But something else we got to talk about.
More football.
More football. That's always wonderful. Thank you. So we're going to talk about the Thursday night game between the Patriots and the Giants. And this game was a lot closer to start out with, but then they finally pulled away. And looking at the stat line, things get interesting. As you see on your screen, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, Patriots won this game 35-14. But Tom Brady, who was 31 of 41, 334 yards, not a single touchdown, but had an interception, had a fumble, but randomly had 2 rushing touchdowns. What kind of game was this?
He's got more career rushing yards than Lamar Jackson. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, it's easy when you pay 15 years longer.
Yeah, that's the joke.
Oh my gosh, you killed me.
That's the joke.
You kill me.
No, but Tom Brady, he did pass Peyton Manning on the all-time passing yards list.
He did.
He is now number 2 behind Drew Brees.
Man.
And he doesn't like being number 2 at anything.
No, and I assume he's going to try and come for that record, but
it's going to be tough.
Wait till Drew Brees gets back.
What if Drew Brees retires after this year and Brady plays for 2 more years?
Oh my gosh, I could see it happening too, and that's what's really horrible about that. But this game, though, was a very interesting game. A lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. 6 turnovers between both teams. Danny Dimes trying to play out of his mind against that vaunted defense that's number 1 in the league right now in scoring, among many other categories. But this game was very, very interesting to the fact that the Giants just kept hanging in there all the way until late in the fourth quarter where everything kind of broke loose. The Giants were still there.
Yeah, that's about the time when I was able to actually catch the end of this game was in the fourth quarter. And it was surprisingly very close. But Daniel Jones, welcome to the NFL against a coach that knows how to exploit the weakness or take away your strengths of a team. And Daniel Jones, he does give that offense a whole different facelift. It's a whole different outlook, especially between having him and Manning in there.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. He was just below 50%, 161 yards, was able to get a touchdown, but had 3 costly interceptions that ultimately probably cost him the game. And then running back Jonathan Hillman, who was replacing the starter, had 11 rushes, 38 yards, and a fumble himself. So the only bright spot I feel like on the offense was Golden Tate.
And that's what they wanted. That's what they brought him in for, is they needed a shot in the arm for a wide receiver position, and he did just that. He had a great game, 102 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. But this, the kind of the storyline for this game is the Patriots doing what the Patriots do.
That's
they
right.
dominate the possession. Time of possession. They run the football, and they're decently efficient with passing the ball because, of course, you got a 20-year veteran like Tom Brady running the offense.
Well, that, and he spread the ball around too. Julian Edelman had 9 catches, 113 yards. Running back James White had 9 catches, 46 yards.
That's what he does best, is catch the ball out of the backfield, move him around, and get the ball in his hands and let him go to work.
Absolutely, and did that. He did. And it was just a great game all the way around for the Patriots once they broke everything open. But looking forward, the Giants are 2-4 right now. We're going to be taking on the Cardinals September 20th, 1 p.m. on Fox. So that's definitely going to be an interesting game. Giants, definitely a bounce-back candidate, I feel like, for that one.
And the Cardinals aren't playing awful. They still have a decent defense at this point, and I think they're going to be getting – the Cardinals will be getting Pat Peterson back.
I believe so, yeah.
This week or next week.
Yeah,
he served a 6-game suspension. And then he's going to be back within the next week or 2. So that'll be a very unique matchup to watch. Pat Peterson and that defense against Daniel Jones. Another big test for Daniel Jones moving forward. The Patriots, they're going to roll on, and they're probably going to continue to win. They're at the Jets on October 21st, 8 p.m. That's a Monday night game, correct?
That's the Monday night game on ESPN. Yeah. So Pats are now undefeated still, 6-0, taking on the Jets, who do have Sam Darnold back. But
Sam Darnold is back for this week's game, and I think it'll look much better on offense for the Jets.
They just need to keep him out of the club, making out with all them girls. I'm telling you. That's how you got it. I'm telling you. But either way, though, our weekly pick'em was pretty crazy all the way around. Taking a look at the graphic right now, we had a lot of crazy picks going on here. Obviously, we both got the Thursday night game correct, picking the Patriots. If you saw our post on our social media accounts at PCN Final Score, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But we right now have the Panthers and Buccaneers, who I think just wrapped up their game not too long ago. Both of us had the Panthers in this one, and ended up being a pretty crazy game, even a weird ending to the first half.
Yeah, it's just under 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Carolina's up 27-10.
Yeah, so our picks looking good right there. But looking at some of our other ones, we got a lot of these that we made the same kind of picks. Redskins playing at the Dolphins in Miami today. Both of us picking the Redskins.
Tank Bowl 2019.
Just about to say it. Tank Bowl 2019. The loser more than likely getting the first pick in the draft this year. Both of us taking the Redskins as Calhoun takes over as head coach after Jay Gruden was.
Bill Callahan?
Calhoun, whatever. They're all the same. Doesn't matter. You know what I know?
It's a big difference.
He knows how to run the ball. That's what matters.
More of an up-tempo, quote, up-tempo offense from what the players have been saying is that practice has been a lot more up-tempo. Like they're going to be planning on running more of an up-tempo offense.
Right.
And, I mean, realistically, when you have less talent on your team, you have to try to find ways to throw your opponent off.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I've always been a big proponent of the way, not necessarily as fast as what Chip Kelly used to do at Oregon, but you gotta run.
Which did not work in the NFL, by the way.
Yeah, which does not work in the NFL, but it, depending on your quarterback, it can work. I mean, if you look at, say, for instance, the Detroit Lions, and when we were airing the ball out with whoever, the best times that offense worked, 2-minute offense. Even if it was in the third quarter, 2-minute offense. Like that kind of an offense can work in the NFL. You just got to have the right personnel or the right scheme and play call. Right. And if they can run a little bit more up tempo, I think it could be very beneficial, especially given some of the defenses that they're going to be playing against later this year that have not been up to par.
Very true.
Looking at everybody else in the NFC East, I think they could surprise a couple of people. But I'm not overly overly optimistic about their final record.
Well, they named Case Keenum the starter for this week, so we'll see how it all works out. But
Case Keenum can sling it. It's just you got to make sure that he gets it out early and often. Just like with any quarterback that's not, say, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers that can scramble out everywhere and create plays. A lot of times with those quarterbacks, you got to get 3-stepping out. You can't be going 5-7 step drops. You got to go 3 steps and out.
3-step out.
Short,
3-step out.
You got to do the short routes.
But both of us took the Redskins in this one, and I think they will win it. I think it'll be low scoring, and I think it'll be close. Probably somewhere around the tune of like a 10-7. But definitely see how that one works out. Yeah, it's gonna be an ugly game.
I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be that low scoring.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be ugly.
I think the Redskins have a better defense than Minnesota, Miami.
Wow. Bite your tongue.
Miami. Yeah, right. Yeah, putting those two. I mean, you can put both of their offenses in the same category.
Yeah, there you go.
But hey.
But looking at some of the other games we picked, the same. We have the Seahawks traveling over to Cleveland to take on the Browns. That one seems to be it's going to be possibly a big barn burner, especially with how the Browns played against the 49ers. They might be burning Cleveland down.
They're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. It's insane. Like it is absolutely insane. Like watching that game against the 49ers, they looked horrible. But then the week before, they look amazing against Baltimore.
Absolutely, and it was totally crazy how that ended up working out, but we both got the Seahawks taking that one. Bengals travel over to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens look pretty strong. Bengals have been having a lot of issues this year. Ravens are probably going to take this one in a big win. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a pretty big margin between the two, especially with the Ravens being at home. Home teams have been the trend. There was 1 week, I think a couple weeks ago, where a lot of road teams won in the NFL, but home field advantage is still... It's still a thing. Real.
Well, it didn't seem to be home field advantage taken into account for this next one with 49ers traveling to the Rams because we both picked the 49ers to win as the road team, but the 49ers have looked so great with that rushing attack, a strong passing attack, and, of course, a very stout defense.
Yeah, that defense is, and that was one of the things that they've been really trying to improve on, and all the moves they made in the offseason just kind of show, strengthen that argument. But I think this is more so because the Rams have been struggling so much, and Todd Gurley's out. They announced yesterday already that he's out. So, I mean, that rushing attack without Todd Gurley, even though he hasn't been the same since the injury last year, I think this is going to be a very close game, but 49ers pull it off on the road.
Absolutely. Then looking at the Falcons traveling out to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. In this one, the Cardinals have been decent for what they are, but haven't been able to translate it into too many wins. The Falcons, however, have a very high-powered offense once they have it clicking right, but I feel like the Cardinals have a kind of a weaker defense that the Falcons are going to be able to take advantage of, and I got the Falcons winning this one pretty big. That
passing attack should have a heyday if Pat Peterson is still out on suspension, but you got to feel bad for Atlanta fans because they had such high expectations, especially then when Drew Brees goes down. They were thinking, okay, this is our chance. We can make some moves in the NFC South, and you turn up again with another horrible 1-4 start.
Can't do that.
And you're losing games you shouldn't be losing. And it's funny that their only win this year is against your Eagles, who again were supposed to have a strong season but have been a little up and down.
I need you to calm down, okay?
But the Falcons, man, I would think if the Falcons drop too many more games, they got to make a coaching change because Quinn has had such a loaded roster. Yes, they've been hurt with injuries again this year, but that's not necessarily an excuse.
Well, Blank also already went out and backed him and said that Quinn is the guy. Things are just happening right now, but I have to agree to a certain extent because you can only let that go so far, especially with all the talent they have, with as much as they're paying Matt Ryan, how much they just threw at Julio Jones, highest paid wide receiver in the league. So, and
you got Devontae Freeman, who doesn't look the same with Tevin Coleman gone.
Yeah.
You still got Calvin Ridley, who's going to be one of the next young stud wide receivers in the NFL. You got Austin Hooper, who's a young stud tight end in that offense. And it's just the defense is the problem. You've got injuries on that defense. You got, I think it's really, realistically, it's ever since they blew that lead in the Super Bowl, they have not been the same team.
28-3.
They've not been the same team.
Do you think it's really haunting them that bad? We need to talk about.
I don't think it is anymore, but I think it's just that residual carried over into the next season, and then they had injuries, and I think now it's just
bad luck.
Yeah, I guess.
We'll call it Super Bowl Super Hangover. I like that one. But looking at some of these other games, we also have the Cowboys traveling to New York to the New Meadowlands to take on the Jets. The Jets have been a very weak team this year with or without Sam Darnold. They also already waived Luke Falk, so Luke Falk is no longer even with the Jets after losing 2 games as the starter. And the Cowboys, though, I think are going to go in here and they're going to clean house with a great rushing attack behind Ezekiel Elliott and some strong passing from Dak Prescott.
Yeah, as long as they don't come out flat and have a horrible game like they did against, say, like the Saints
or Green Bay,
or even Green Bay. Like, it's weird when they actually play good teams, they don't play well.
Funny.
I feel like somebody said that last week.
Yeah, who did say that?
Didn't somebody say that last week?
Yeah, I think somebody.
I think somebody
said that.
But yeah, I think the Cowboys are just too much talent on this team compared to the Jets.
Even defensively, I think they're going to really hold down the Jets' offense, and Sam Darnold's going to have headaches all day.
I think Sam Darnold will have some rust a little bit.
Oh, you
haven't played in a couple weeks, and he's been battling. He's been battling that illness, and I mean, you don't just come back from that right away. So.
No. So learn about what girls you kiss. All right. So looking at the last game that we actually picked the same on, Pittsburgh Steelers traveling out to LA to take on the Chargers. Chargers have been looking kind of weak, though, but I think this is a perfect bounce back candidate for them, and I think they end up taking this one narrowly.
I feel bad for the Steelers. They've had to travel out west twice now already this year. And I believe they're playing, that division plays against the AFC West this year, so they've got to travel west 2 more times.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, they're playing two at home.
Yeah, the other 2 will come to them. But still, having that kind of a road trip all the way from Pittsburgh out to the West Coast is never an easy task, especially as close as they did it.
Yeah, and they're on their 3rd quarterback this year already. And, I think the Chargers will have a bounce back, especially having a letdown game last week. I think the Chargers will win this one and probably cover.
Probably more than likely. But look at some of the games we picked different. Eagles at Minnesota. Minneapolis take on the Vikings. I have the Eagles taking this one very, very narrowly. The Eagles have been kind of cardiac on offense. But you have the Vikings, sir.
Yes, only because of the fact that they're at home, for one. Their defense is still playing well. And you got Dalvin Cook. And, I mean, that rushing attack. I mean, remember what the Packers did to the Eagles on the ground?
Let's not talk about that, sir.
What do you think a good running back is going to do against that defense?
Let's not talk about that, sir.
I think it'll be tough, but as long as Kirk Cousins from last week shows up and not the previous weeks.
Well, that's the thing I worry about when it comes to Kirk Cousins is that he's also hot cold.
I think this could be a game, if you're the Vikings, where Kirk Cousins only throws the ball 15 times this game. It could be that type of a game for the Minnesota Vikings at home. The crowd is insane. That it's such a tough environment to play in. And with that rushing attack compared with the defense that they also play, they still play stud defense.
I'm not being biased at all, but I'm just saying.
I think this is going to be a close game either way, but I think the Vikings have the edge here.
And then they have a chance. It'll definitely be an interesting game to see that one go down. But a big one I'm looking at, Texans at Chiefs. This one has all kinds of potential both ways. I took the Texans in this one. I think the defense is going to be able to clamp down on Patrick Mahomes in this attack and be able to play good enough offense, especially off Deshaun Watson in that crazy game he had. And Will Fuller catching over 200 yards. Oh, my gosh, that's insane. Yeah, I think the Texans end up taking this one close.
This was a tough game to pick for me as well, but Chiefs can't drop 2 in a row. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen with Pat Mahomes. That offense, we all know how bad their defense is.
Oh yeah,
but I think this will be a shootout. It'll be probably in the 30s for these two teams. But I don't see the Chiefs dropping back-to-back games like that.
No, I just don't see it happening. But looking at another one, we had the New Orleans Saints traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Saints looking really good with Teddy Bridgewater still under center. Drew Brees not too far away from coming back, though. But now they travel on the road to take an interesting Minshew mustache Jaguars team that seems to be having a little bit of success with their backup quarterback.
Saints defense is good, but Minshew hasn't made too many mistakes. He's limited his mistakes, which is what you want out of your quarterback. And I think just thinking about this, the Jags pass rush is going to get after Teddy Bridgewater, and I think that's the reason why I went with the Jags. I think their pass rush is going to get to Bridgewater. Their offense is it's getting better, but I think I saw, was it this morning? Kamara is hobbled. He's not necessarily completely healthy.
He's still expected to play, though, but it's still going to affect his game.
I think that's going to be a big reason. And
I hope not for my fantasy sake.
Ramsey might play. I haven't seen anything this morning that says he will or will not, but I think there's a good chance. I know Shad Khan said a couple days ago that they're expecting Ramsey to play. And if Ramsey comes out, if you're Ramsey, you want to make a statement against one of the best receivers in the NFL, Michael Thomas. And if he comes out and clamps down on him, I think the Jags take this one. It'll be a close game, just like a lot of their games have been this year. But I think the Jags take it in a close one.
Ooh, it's going to be interesting. We're looking at some of the other ones. We also have Titans
Broncos
at the Broncos. This is going to be an interesting game. The Broncos still show they can still play a little bit of defense and hold teams down, but the offense has been very, very hit or miss. So I know the Broncos are going to look for Joe Flacco to come out and try to get hot early. The Titans, on the other hand, it's been a little bit different, a little cardiac themselves, but Mariota needs to find some type of consistency to be able to get the ball to his playmakers.
He has been consistent as far as not turning the ball over, but
which has been better.
But he's not getting the ball down the field, and that's been his issue.
And you can't just leave it to Derrick Henry to make all the plays.
Right, and this is another tough one for me to pick because I think this is a pick 'em. Titans do have a very strong defense, and that could be the difference in stopping Phillip Lindsay. If you can stop Phillip Lindsay, you can probably stop their offense.
Pretty much.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Denver, coming off that big win last week against the Chargers, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually get a little bit of momentum here. They always play well at home in that elevation.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos squeak this game out.
Ooh, I really could see them squeaking this out, but it's really going to come down to Phillip Lindsay doing what Phillip Lindsay does and Joe Flacco finding a little bit of consistency. Another big thing I look at is that I know that a lot of their wideouts have been dealing with little injuries, so if they can get any kind of consistency going on offense, definitely watch out for them. But I think the Titans and their defense are going to be able to really stop this offense. But looking at it, though, we still have one more, the Monday night game.
My Lions.
I know you're invested in this one as the Detroit Lions travel to the frozen tundra, take on the Green Bay Packers in Monday Night Football on ESPN. And I know you're going to give a very spirited debate as to how the Lions are going to win this and what they need to do and their keys to the win. But I'm sorry, the Packers are going to take this one.
And that very well could happen. I mean, Lambeau is a very tough place to play.
Did you get your first win in 13 years or something in Lambeau just recently?
2 years ago. Get out of here. We have a 4-game win streak on the Packers, my friend. Get out of here. Get out of here. But no, the Lions have been playing very good football the last couple weeks. I mean, coming off that bye week, you can get healthy. But, I mean, what you're really looking for is you want to be able to stop that rushing attack of the Packers. Lions have one of the best rush defenses in the league still, last year and this year. The big question is going to be stopping those receivers. Devontae Adams already ruled out. That's in the Lions' favor as well.
Yeah, Turf Toe still has it.
Yeah, already playing in the Lions' favor there. But you want to look at someone that really needs to have a good game, and I think that's Kerryon Johnson in the rushing attack. He's got 251 yards rushing this year. He's only averaging 3.5 yards a carry, but he's got to have a good game. But I think the Lions, they're finally starting to play Matt Patricia's offense, which is very similar to what the Patriots run.
Funny how that works out.
However, Patricia actually realizes that, oh my God, Matt Stafford has an arm. He can actually throw it down the field, unlike Tom Brady.
Man, no wonder they had a Calvin Johnson Jr. out there.
Weird. But I think this will be a close game, and I'm taking the Lions. I think they're gonna play well in prime time, and not having Devontae Adams on the other side, and they have a great rush defense. Aaron Rodgers is still going to he's still going to make plays. He's still going to get flags for late hits that aren't there. Those things are still going to happen.
I just want to go get Ndamukong Suh again.
No, I don't want anyone getting stomped on. Okay, I don't want anyone to get stomped on. But I think it's going to be a close game. But I think the Lions take it.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Make sure you catch all the games. Some are actually kicking off here in the next hour. We still have Bucks and oh my gosh, who were they playing?
The Panthers.
The Panthers. Why can't I remember that?
I have no idea.
You know why? It's because averaging 4 hours of sleep a night is not a healthy thing to do.
You got to stop drinking like that. I'm telling you, you got to stop. Drinking. You got to stop drinking like that.
Drinking all that water is what I'm doing.
Yeah, is that what the kids call it? Water?
No, all four of my kids better call it water. If they call it anything else, they're in trouble.
Oh man!
But we still got to pay the light bill. So make sure that you stay with us. When we come back, though, we're going to talk a little bit about some Major League Baseball playoffs, as well as some NBA, NHL news, and, of course, our good old rundown of this week in sports history, give or go, and the week ahead. So make sure that you stay with us. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/SportsSanityCustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3CountDesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score with Chris and Craig. And we're going to talk about the amazingness right now known as MLB Playoffs, because It has been a very exciting playoffs. A lot of surprises, a lot of craziness happening. What do we have going on here, Craig?
The one thing I like about baseball in the playoffs is that you get a lot of it. But the other thing that I don't like about it is how they played still almost damn near every day. We've had a lot happen since last week when we talked about the ALDS and the NLDS. But so let's just get you wrapped up real quick and find out who's actually, if you're living under a rock, who is in the ALCS, the NLCS.
If you are, shame on you.
So the NLDS was one for the ages. You had the dominant Dodgers, who've been one of the best teams in baseball. They lose games 4 and 5 to get eliminated. And they lost to the Washington Nationals. Nationals took game 4 6-1 and game 5 7-3. They dominated the Dodgers, who have been one of the most dominant teams in baseball.
Yeah, little 93 win Washington Nationals, who barely squeaked in the playoffs. Ended up taking this one against the mighty 106 win LA Dodgers with their plus 273 run differential, which was second in the league to the Houston Astros, and all this insanity. And the Nationals did it.
And they've been doing that all year.
Flabbergasted.
With all the struggles they had in the first third of the season, first quarter of the season.
Right.
And then in my opinion, they were arguably the best team in the second half of the year in baseball. And they did what they needed to do to get into the playoffs. And if it wasn't for the Braves getting off to a hot start, they probably would have won the NL East.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Braves, they had an interesting NLDS as well, as they were taking on the Cardinals. And the Braves, in the very first game, lost a very close one to the Cardinals 7-6, but then ended up taking the next two, 3-0 and 3-1. But then the Cardinals, just like the Nationals, turn around and win the last two games. Game 4, they won 5-4 in extras, took all the way to the 10th inning. But game 5...
I think I said this last week, that the Cardinals were going to pull Cardinal magic and win.
Yeah, and set a playoff record, 10 runs in the first inning, and eventually took this game.
They tied that record, yeah.
Yeah, tied the record, and ended up taking this one 13-1 to put an emphatic stamp on this series.
Yeah, it was a combination of two things. It was a combination of the fact that the Braves are still a very talented, but very young team, and the Cardinals doing what they do is they pull something out of their butts and advance in the playoffs. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing for the last decade and a half.
Absolutely, and it's been incredible what they've been able to pull off. And now they're going to the NLCS to meet the Nationals, which we'll touch on a little bit more here in a minute. But looking at the ALDS, it was just as crazy. And, I mean, with the Yankees and Twins, though, it kind of was what we expected. The Twins have been horrible in the playoffs. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah, they tied the postseason record for most consecutive losses in a row at 14, I believe it was.
Yes,
14.
At 14, and funny enough, 11 of those were to the Yankees.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think what happened here is you've got the Yankees are still one of the best teams in baseball.
Yes.
The Twins, we talked about how, yes, they had 100 wins this year, but is in a very, very weak division. Probably one of the weakest divisions in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Where you had, other than the Indians, who also had 90-plus wins.
93.
Those two teams inflated records. I mean, argue it how you will, but seeing that division all the time, being a lowly Tigers fan that I am, Tigers, worst team in baseball. Royals, bottom 3 team in baseball.
Well, they're both 100-plus lost teams. And
and that's gonna
114.
Yeah, and that's gonna boost up your win total.
Oh yeah, all day.
Yes, they played well against other teams. I forget what their record was outside the division, but it was still a winning record. But this team overperformed. They outplayed their expectations.
Absolutely.
And they finally ran into a superior team.
Well, when you had the 103-win New York Yankees, who've really been showing why they've been one of the best teams in baseball all year long, plus 204 run differential, have really been having the bat, scored 943 runs this year, which was honestly, I believe, tops in the league. So they've been absolutely making it happen. So I wasn't too surprised when the Twins ran into this bandsaw because the Yankees have been that all year. They took game 1 10-4, game 2 8-2, game 3 5-1. Just shows the kind of dominance the Yankees have right now, and now they're rolling to the ALCS.
Yeah, and in that ALCS, you got the Yankees took a commanding 7-0 win to lead this series 1-0, and playing in, I think it was in Houston, correct?
I believe so. And the thing is, with Houston, we didn't even get to that one yet. And the kind of hard time they have with the Braves to even get to the ALCS. Because Houston came out in the first 2 games of the ALDS and looked like their dominant selves against the Rays. But once they switched to Tampa and Minute Maid Tropicana, the Rays really showed why they were there.
I'm glad the fans showed up because
it was sold out.
It was sold out for both games. It was such a great atmosphere. Following friends of the show that were at the game.
Yeah.
And it was such a great atmosphere. It was great. I was really hoping that the Rays would pull it off.
Felt like 2008 all over again.
Yeah, I was really hoping they would pull it off because Kevin Cash was making the right moves as far as who to put in, and it was just, he was pushing all the right buttons to get that team where they need to go.
Right.
And they just fell short.
Just fell short. And the Astros ended up taking game 5, 6-1. They were able to get that one at home. So not too shocked by that there. But again, now we have 2 very good teams in the ALCS. What's your prediction for this one? How do you think this one's going to end?
This is going to end up, I think, going to 7 games. I don't see why not. The Yankees, like I just said a few minutes ago, took a dominant 7-0 win in game 1. They had played so well. They had 13 hits in that game, and it was really close all the way till about the 6th inning. And then, Gleyber Torres he's been playing great. He had a great game 3 in the ALDS. He's been playing really well. That just whole team from top to bottom. But I think this will be a 7-game series. Astros, I think, will take it. They have to win tonight at home, which is 8:00 on Fox Sports 1. But if they don't take tonight, I don't think they take the series.
I don't think they'll have a chance if they're not able to take tonight because the Yankees, if you give them any kind of an inch, they're going to take a mile, and they're going to try to run this up to another championship. And the Yankees showed that they had great pitching. The Astros just could not figure out the pitching. And, of course, there's just so much you can say about the Yankees. I honestly thought this game starting out with this series. This is the series I was hoping for. That was going to be Yankees-Astros. I was like, this is going to be a great series. It's going to be to the wire every game. Yankees are now dominating. So Astros definitely need to come out tonight at 8:00 on FS1, like you said. They need to come out and show why they are the team they are, why they were the best team in the league, why they made these moves for their bullpen, why they're going to try and go back and win a championship.
Well, it's really tough because they rolled out Greinke for the first game, and he does not play well in the postseason.
No, he doesn't.
But you've got game 2 is going to be Verlander, and then game 3 is going to be Garrett Cole, I believe.
Right.
So you've got a couple pitchers there that it's a pretty daunting task if you are the Yankees. But if there's any team that can do it, and just as the Rays showed in their game, was at game 4 against Verlander, he was pitching on short rest, but if you can get to Verlander early, you can take him out of the game.
Definitely.
But if you let him get rolling, good luck.
Yeah, and I think this will definitely go all 7 games. And honestly, toss up of who could take this at this point. I feel like the Yankees always do play pretty good when they get into the playoffs, so they're always a dangerous team, even with the Astros in their pitching rotation. So we'll go 7 games. I have no idea who's going to win this one. I have to go maybe with my original pick and pick Astros just so I could poke fun at our one fan. Which I'm sure he's probably screaming in the chat right now.
Our one fan that's watching us today. Thank you.
Our one fan.
How are you?
Yeah. Has he screamed yet? Oh, he says 6 games. It's going to take 6 games for the Yankees to win is what he's saying.
That's a solid pick.
It's a
6,
solid pick.
Especially taking game 1 as dominant as they have.
Yeah, you can't ignore
I wouldn't be surprised, but I think you know how these games are nowadays in the playoffs. They draw them out as long as they can for the ratings and the money.
Of course.
I think it's going to be still 7 games, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees do take it. It'd be a tough game to win, though, in Houston in a game 7.
Most definitely. It definitely would be. So they better hope they get it in 6. But looking at the NLCS, the Cardinals and Nationals, didn't think we were going to have this matchup. Currently, the Nationals lead 2-0. Take game 1 2-0, game 2 3-1. Game 3 will be Monday, October 14th on TBS. I mean, are the Cardinals going to have to pull some more magic out of their butt for this one?
I think they will. They're going to have to. I mean, because they lost the first 2 games at home to the Nationals. Mm-hmm. And, the Nationals have been kind of just grinding their teeth and playing, keeping themselves in games throughout the end of the season and the postseason. Very surprising to me that they've taken a 2-0 lead, but I would not be surprised. I would take the Nationals to keep rolling. I think they win this in 5 or 6.
Ooh, I honestly could think the Nationals keep rolling. I think they win it in 6. I think the Cardinals will pull some magic out, especially at home on Monday and Tuesday. So I think the Nationals are going to end up taking it down in the long run. They're just been able to show that in the playoffs they can get it done already against some really great talent, especially taking out the Dodgers. So, I think they'll definitely be able to keep rolling, and they'll take this all the way to the World Series.
How ironic is it that the year that Bryce Harper leaves and goes to Philly
is the year they're going to possibly make the World Series?
The Nationals not only eliminate the Phillies from the playoffs, but they win their first ever series as the Nationals. Mm-hmm. They make the NLCS for the first time since 1981 when they were the Expos.
Ooh, throwing it back.
And they could make the World Series.
That's crazy.
How ironic is all that? After all the hype that they had for the last X number of years with Bryce Harper in their lineup, they eliminate him and they get better.
And it's funny? I think there's someone who called that.
This guy.
I think there was someone who
right
called
here.
that.
I called it. I did have them winning the division this year, but that didn't happen. They still made the playoffs.
And they might win the World Series.
I consider that a win.
But looking at it, though, make sure you check back in with us next week for episode 33 when we give you a better update on this, because by then we're going to be getting ready for a World Series run. So it's going to be interesting. Playoffs are alive here on Final Score. It's definitely going to be fun. But now we got to shift gears, take a little bit look at some NHL news, and one tidbit, just because I found it so funny. This was
funny. I forgot about this until you put it in the lineup here.
Yeah, so my Philadelphia Flyers have created a new rage room to let fans smash TVs and other everyday items to be able to expend some of their stress of being a Flyers fan and be able to take full advantage of having this and be able to also placate all kinds of stuff. You can hit logoed hats and stuff from other teams, that you don't like, all kinds of crazy stuff.
This is hilarious for multiple reasons.
And it's called officially a disassembly room.
Disassembly room. I think it's funny because this is great. I think a lot of teams should have this kind of a thing because I think it's a great little promotion. Here's my question.
First ever inside a major sports arena.
Here's my problem with it. Why would you give the angriest fan base in America, possibly the world, in Philadelphia fans who I've lived around and have experienced every day, why would you give them something to actually destroy more things?
Well, they do wear protective gear during the session, and there's also an observation room, so you don't have to be in on the action.
Well, you have to. I mean, obviously they have to have some sort of eye protection and stuff like that. Otherwise, they wouldn't let you do it.
I mean,
Philly fans are some of the angriest fans I've ever experienced, and they're some of the nastiest, rudest fans I've ever met.
We're not that angry, sir.
As you raise your voice.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But I think this is a really cool thing, especially with Flyers fans who have had some frustration over the last few years.
Past few decades.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice here, okay?
Let's be honest.
But yeah, I think it's a really cool opportunity, and I'm trying to think of, there's got to be a great promotion tactic in here somewhere, like a great partnership of sponsors.
Well, it's funny is that the Rage Room concept started in Japan about a decade ago and spread to the U.S. Through Breaks Up Bay Area in San Jose, California, using like recycled electronics and a $25 BYOB option of being able to break your own stuff. Like,
oh yeah, they had that. They did that decades ago.
But that's where they got a lot of this.
Remember Disco Night?
Oh yeah, and this is where they got a lot of that inspiration. So to be able to access it, you have to make a reservation for a specific time during or after a Philly home game. Only costs them $35 for a person, $60 for a group of 2. It's honestly not that bad of a deal, and you get 5 minutes to smash items. You're given a 1 5-gallon bucket of smaller breakable items and 1 medium-sized item to break.
5 minutes, that's it?
5 minutes.
$35 for 5 minutes?
For 5 minutes. You get a hockey stick and all kinds of stuff to break.
Unless I can go Office Space on a huge printer.
I mean, that flat screen TV you can hit.
Oh, that might be worth it.
But considering that it's been 45 years since we won a Stanley Cup, we got plenty of rage. So.
You know who else needs that?
Who?
Cowboys fans.
Yes, they do. Right there in the back of Jerry World.
I think that'd be funny.
Oh my gosh, that would be absolutely hilarious. But yeah, not too much today for hockey. But we are going to go ahead.
We do want to give our first standings update.
Yeah, we're going to give our first standings update and give a rundown of what's been going on because if you again are still living under a rock, get out from under there. It's not safe for you.
Hockey started. What are you doing with your life?
What are you doing with your life? We got sports starting and ending, sir. This is transition period. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the first standings of the NHL season, kind of get an idea of where some of these teams are. So first we're going to look at the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division. Right now, the Buffalo Sabres lead this division with a record of 1-0-1. Have 9 points right now, are 1 point ahead of the Boston Bruins, who are 4-1-0. And both of them looking to be the class right now. And a team I said to look out for at number 3, the Toronto Maple Leafs, 3-2-1, 7 points.
The Sabres are the surprise right now in the first, I would say, couple weeks of the season. I mean, they weren't necessarily, I mean, they're expected to be in the bottom half of the league, and they come out with such a hot start. It's only been 5 games, I understand, but 9 points. You have a goal differential of +8. They're on a 2-game win streak.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've beaten some teams too. They beat the Penguins. They beat the Devils. Blue Jackets are kind of on a low, but they actually lost to them in overtime, but still beat the Canadiens, beat the Panthers, and now they're going to be playing the Dallas Stars. So it's going to be interesting for Buffalo.
Yeah, they're going to have a really transitional season this year, but I think they're off to a great start. And, of course, the Bruins and the Maple Leafs are 2 teams that are expected to be at the top of this division. And don't look now, but in 4th place, my Red Wings, 6 points, 3 wins, 2 losses, no overtime losses. Goal differential 0. But, hey, Mantha has been on a tear since the beginning of the year.
What's your record at home? I got a hard body.
We're 3-2. Get out of here. 3-2.
But looking at the Metropolitan Division, the Carolina Hurricanes coming out right on top, 5 wins, 1 loss, 10 points right now, which tied for the lead in the entire NHL. So definitely very interesting to see them there. Washington Capitals right behind, which we kind of expect them to have a good, strong team. And the Pittsburgh Penguins not too far behind, but also in 4th place, my team, the Philadelphia Flyers, are sitting there 2-0-1, 5 points.
Yeah, the only real big surprise here is probably the Devils and how horrible they've been already in the first 5 games.
Yet. -14 score differential, worst in the league.
But they have had 2 overtime losses. So, I mean, it's not like they're getting destroyed every game, but even at home, both of their overtime losses have been at home. So,
but they've also allowed 23 goals, which is more than anybody in the league.
That's going to be their issue. Bad. I mean, they're in a transition period also because they just got the number 1 pick, who's going to be he's going to be good in a couple years, but
it's going to take time.
It's going to take some time for them. But
and I mean, look at some of the teams that they've played too. They lost to the Jets in a close one, then got owned by the Sabres, blanked by the Flyers, beat close by the Oilers, lost to the Bruins. So I mean, it's not been easy teams they've been playing either. It's not been a cupcake walk. So.
Right. In the West Conference, in the Central Division, Colorado Avalanche, one of the other teams that we were talking about in our preview show. This is one of the teams I was saying to watch out for. It's been all over, of course. Media has been all over them too. They're the darlings right now because of what they did in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. They're still a young team. They're off to a hot start. 4 games, 4 wins, 8 points.
Yeah, definitely making it happen, and a score differential of +7, so leads their division looking really strong. Winnipeg Jets right behind them at 4-2-0, also have 8 points tied with Colorado. They've been playing pretty hot as well, and they're on a 3-game winning streak, so definitely something to watch out for. And our defending, undisputed, heavyweight Stanley Cup champion of the world, St. Louis Blues, sitting in 3rd at 3-1-1, 7 points. Score differential is 0, though, so something to keep an eye out for. They might be letting too many goals up.
Well, they need to try to recapture the play of Bennington, their goalie from last year. And this is his first full season now as the starter. So it's going to be, I think he's going to take a bit of a step back, but they're still going to be in contention for that division and for a playoff run.
And they had a 3-game winning streak against the Stars, Maple Leafs, and Senators, so it's not like they're playing horrible. And they had a close loss to the Capitals. Canadiens were able to kind of pull away a little bit, but still, I think it's going to be a good, strong team.
The who?
The Canadiens.
The Canadiens.
You're a Canadiens. All right, now looking
basically from Canada, yes.
You might as well be, you filthy Michigan fan. But funny, I see the Nashville Predators here for one of your sleeper picks.
Yeah, Nashville. They're going to be a team that's also going to be in the running for as far as the Stanley Cup and for all that. But they've got off to a decent start. They've beat the Sharks 5-2 last week, which was that's a big win. They beat the Capitals. They lost to the Kings, who the Kings are not expected to be very good this year. But it was on the road. You can kind of give them that.
Right.
But I mean, they're 3-2. It's a good start, and 6 points. They're right in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely right there in the conversation. But looking at the Pacific Division, the Edmonton Oilers, our other leading team in points, 10 points. They're currently 5-0-0, 5-game winning streak to start the season, plus 9 score differential. I've really been making some noise, and just gotta watch out for the freaking Oilers, man. Like,
this is kind of a big shock, because it's kind of a big shock for some, but not for others, because the Oilers know that they have 2 of the best goal scorers in the league on their front line. And the biggest question is can you get other talent around them and get the goaltending to match? But when you can outscore people like this, you can give up some goals.
They got Connor McDavid, who's honestly been just one of the perennial top players year in and year out, who's always been able to make it happen. If they can get him and Leon Draisaitl, I'm sure I've probably butchered that, and get them playing together well, they really are a great tandem that can make a lot of noise for this team. So definitely watch out. Draisaitl actually ended up winning one of these games in a shootout for them. In their last game, McDavid and Draisaitl were able to play real great on 2 goals and an assist to beat the Rangers. So definitely got to watch out for Edmonton. But looking at the rest of the division, the Anaheim Ducks, who I said, watch out for the Ducks. 4-1-0, 8 points to start the season, plus 5 score differential. Looking really strong right now, with the Vegas Golden Knights not far behind.
And the other surprise, the big surprise on the positive end is the Oilers, but the big surprise on the other end is the Sharks.
Yeah, who are 1-4-0.
The Sharks are at the bottom of the division right now. Yep. Yeah, 1-4-0. They have a goal differential of -11. They've given up 21 goals this year already, which is second worst, tied for third worst.
That's right. And their win they just got against the Chicago Blackhawks recently. So they started with a 4-game losing streak.
Well, the first 2 games were against the Golden Knights, and those 2 teams do not like each other. They play very hard against each other.
But Vegas owned them. 5-1 and 4-1. So.
But Vegas is one of the popular picks for the Stanley Cup, so not really a surprise there. But losing at Anaheim, that's not that far down the road for them. That's kind of a surprise. 3-1 there. Predators, that's a tough team, but you got to beat teams like the Blackhawks if you want to climb the standings and put yourself in a good position for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of our season is going to go. Definitely just an early blink at this. We still have plenty of season left, but it's great to see what's going on.
Yeah, and we hopefully, if technology is friendly to me this week, I will have a NHL Power Rankings, first one of the year.
Yes.
Hopefully. Been having some issues with our Photoshop lately to be able to get all that stuff together. So,
yeah, I got to punch it in the face and get it going.
Yeah, we gotta get that thing back together. But hopefully that'll be out this week.
Hopefully.
If not, definitely next week, because we're going to figure something out.
Yeah, either one way or the other, you're going to get it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
At PCN Final Score, social media. So, anyways, there's a lot that could happen with these standings, but now we got to switch gears over to the NBA, take a little bit of a look at NBA news, and not too much going on. We're still in the preseason when it comes to NBA, so there's not a whole lot going on, but you found a very interesting little tidbit over here.
Yeah, so it's just a kind of a fun little highlight. Of course, with a lot of the preseason games, NBA teams play against teams from overseas, whether it's China or over in Europe, or, of course, the Memphis Grizzlies played against the New Zealand Breakers. Of the, I believe that's the part of the, I think they're part of the Australian National Basketball League, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. But Thomas Abercrombie, You get that name. Thomas Abercrombie throws a posterizing dunk on Jaren Jackson Jr., who's one of the better young shot blockers in the NBA during a preseason game. Tell you what, I haven't seen a poster that hot since Abercrombie & Fitch was good 10 years ago.
Wow. Said it here first.
Hey.
Oh, man. But, I actually did. I don't know if you saw this little story. We're going to touch on this just real quick.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis sprained his right thumb in the first half of the LA Lakers preseason game against the Brooklyn Nets on Saturday and did not return. So, definitely going to be getting looked at, I guess, today. I was going to do a series of diagnostic tests to see what's going on with his thumb, but definitely something to watch out for the Lakers. Yeah,
that's going to be something to definitely look at coming in this next season. It's going to be if he can be out for longer periods of time, that's going to be tough sledding for the Lakers, especially off to the start that they need to get off to.
Most definitely, but definitely make sure that if you want to find out some more, next week we're going to be doing our NBA season preview show right before we get to the start of the season on October 22nd. So definitely make sure that you join us next week and make sure to get the notifications and updates on that. You have to follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, anything else for NBA?
Yeah, I got to point out that surprisingly, Zion Williamson has been playing very well in the preseason.
He really, really has.
He's been playing very well in the preseason.
Didn't he hit a three-pointer as well?
He did. He hit a three-pointer his last game. He's played so well lately that I'm trying to bring up his stuff here, but ESPN is not helping me out.
Aw. Is ESPN not being nice to you?
No, they're not. It's being horrible.
Don't rage quit.
But
do you need a rage room? I know there's one over in Philadelphia.
Oh, really? Can I use that?
Yeah, Wells Fargo Center.
That'd be great. But Zion Williamson, he's been playing surprisingly well. I mean, a lot of what was expected out of him is he has these high expectations, and of course, I've ragged on him quite a bit. But I mean, his preseason has been really good so far. He's actually getting put in positions to make shots. I think he only missed one shot from the field his last preseason game, and he hit a three-pointer. He's surprisingly not just a dunker, which is what he really needs to be. Is he going to be able to sustain it for a full year? Probably not, but still. But it's a good start if you are the Pelicans, and that's the guy that you're going to be hanging your hat on. And he finished with 26 points, 9 of 12 from the field, made a three-pointer against the Jazz the other night.
Yeah, played real great in 23 minutes of play, 26 points. The guy is just playing great. They say in his past two preseason games that he's shooting 21 of 25 overall, and it was the second consecutive game with at least 25 points while shooting 75% from the floor.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, and the only other players who have multiple games like that in the past 20 years in the preseason are Rudy Gay in 2015 with the Kings, Kevin Martin in 2008 with the Kings, and one Shaquille O'Neal in 1999 with the Lakers.
Woo.
So definitely some very interesting company. But, another tidbit, in the past 20 years, only two other rookies have ever done it once, and that was Gordon Hayward and DeJuan Blair. So definitely
DeJuan Blair was such a burnout.
I know. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We'll see how the rest of the preseason plays out. I think Zion might actually be a little bit better than what we were trying to give him because, we're obviously really skeptical of rookies, but especially ones that are as highly touted as this.
Right. And give credit to Alvin Gentry and that coaching staff. They've put him in position to succeed. And that's really all you can ask for out of a rookie. And he's got a good supporting cast around him, got a decent amount of veterans. So they are going to be a very interesting team to watch this year, especially in that Western Conference.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to watch out for, but I think the Western Conference is going to be stacked from top to bottom. So it'll definitely be interesting. They might be able to do a little bit more than what most people think. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that going forward. But we got a little bit of sports history to look at, sir.
Yeah, let's get a little sports history. Let's go ahead and kick that off. October 13th, 1986, the IOC announces that baseball will become a medal sport in 1992 Olympics.
Oh, yeah, totally awesome. And then October 14th, 1978. This is for our good New York Yankee fan. New York Yankee Reggie Jackson causes a World Series controversy by getting in the way of a throw to first and deflects the ball away. Didn't say it was going to be positive.
Right, didn't say it'd be positive. October 15th, 1933, the Philadelphia Eagles play in their first NFL game and then gets smoked by the New York Giants 56-0.
Oh, too soon. Gotcha. All right. So October 16th, 1921, Jim Konzelman takes over as coach of the Rock Island Independents for Frank Coughlin. Only mid-game coaching change ever in NFL history.
Man, if they still did that, that would be pretty funny because you could think of a couple of instances where guys could have been fired mid-game.
Oh, absolutely. Jay Gruden might have been one of those candidates.
October 16th, 1991, Dallas Mavericks' Roy Tarpley becomes the 7th to be banned from the NBA for life under the league's anti-drug agreement.
Yeah, definitely very interesting there. So October 17th, 1885, baseball sets all players' salaries at $1,000 to $2,000 for the 1885 season.
Throwing it back.
Now you can make millions.
Jeez. It's amazing how far that's come, right?
It really has.
October 18th, 1950, Connie Mack retires as manager of the Philadelphia Athletics after 50 years, the longest-serving manager in MLB history.
50 years. That's Joe Paul level there. Too soon? No?
Too soon?
No? Okay, we'll move on then. So October 18th, 2009, quarterback Tom Brady, good old TB12, throws 5 second-quarter touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans, which ends up being an NFL record for touchdown passes in one quarter.
Tom Brady continuing to set records.
That's 2009, so that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, okay. You know what?
He's still midway.
That's what I'm saying. He's continuing to set records even today. Number 2 on the all-time pass yards list.
Anyway, it's time for the good old give or go. What do you got?
We're going to start with the WNBA finals. I want to give on this because we don't really cover it a whole lot.
No, we really don't.
It's not necessarily a majorly popular sport, but WNBA did have their finals conclude over this last week. The Washington Mystics won the series 3-2 over the Connecticut Sun in a full 5 games. So they only do 5-game series in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. So that way they don't really want to extend it too much because it is pretty popular in the playoffs, but as far as revenue and tickets and all that kind of stuff, doesn't really get too much love. So we want to give a little love to the WNBA. But it is the first WNBA championship for the Washington Mystics. They had some issues with injuries with Elena Delle Donne, who's one of the best WNBA players in the league. Had some injury issues with her. She's playing with a herniated disc.
Wow.
No joke. That's some dedication right there.
Yeah, for real. That to play through any kind of an injury is hard enough, but through ribs where it's going to affect your breathing, stamina goes out the window at that point.
Yeah, Washington Mystics center Emma Messiman. There's 2 E's, 2 S's, 2 E's.
Just take your best shot, and that's what we do.
Messiman. I'm going to say Messiman. She wins the finals MVP. She posted 17 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists a game, all while shooting over 50% from 3 and from the field.
Oof.
Big reason why this is a thing of note. She's the first reserve player to win the finals MVP in WNBA history. The latest person to ever do that, Andre Iguodala in the NBA, did it in 2015 as the only NBA player to ever accomplish that feat.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
So only 2 players in basketball history, in national basketball in America, have done this. One from the men's side, one from the women's side.
Man, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But looking at our next one, LaMelo Ball draws record views during his debut in the NBL. Are we going to talk about another ball?
Well, this is actually a good one.
Is this a good ball?
It's a good, I guess. I mean, he's supposed to be the best of the 3.
Well, looking at it, that was the most watched game in league history with more than 1 million views. He finished the game with 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, no turnovers. Very important.
Here's your ESPN stat of the day.
First player.
The dig for more stats kind of thing.
The dig for more stats because we didn't dig enough. First player in NBL history to have a double-double with 5 assists and no turnovers in a debut.
And that is very impressive. But the big reason why we throw this in here, NBL is also the home of RJ Hampton, who is one of the top high school prospects, decided to go to NBL versus go to college so he could actually make money. And then he's still going to be one of the top draft picks. LaMelo Ball is also considered to be one of the top 5 picks, if not number 1 pick in next year's draft.
That's crazy.
So that's why this is such a big deal, I think, in the National Basketball League in Australia. Last give or go, I want to toss this one to you because I want to hear your thoughts on this. Clemson football's Memorial Stadium is set to receive a $60 to $70 million upgrade.
I am going to give on this a little bit. Now, the big thing that with college football as a whole, and I'm not surprised to see this, you win a championship, now you're going to throw a bunch of money to upgrade your stadium. Every big school, every big-time program that tries to bring in recruits always tries to use everything flashy. And this is what hurt Notre Dame for the longest time, was that you got to have the upgraded, latest-to-date equipment. You got to have the nice locker rooms. You got to have the big fancy stadium with the huge video boards and the great soundtracks and all the little LED everythings. If you were watching the Georgia Notre Dame game at all the crazy lighting setups and everything that Georgia has, that attracts recruits. They love that stuff. Then you got to have the flashy uniforms, the great helmets, the great history, all the little things like with them is the Rock, with Lloyd's Rock or whatever it is. And it's crazy just because they spend so much money as programs to be able to make everything so flashy. Notre Dame was so behind in this. When they finally upgraded to the synthetic turf, they finally put a logo in the middle of their field. They finally had the big restoration upgrade project on the outside of their field. Oh, let's not forget, they had this giant video board that was finally erected. We tried not to have one for years. And now we have one, and now we're getting all these recruits. So
weird when you bring yourself out of the 1800s and actually come into the, the mainstream today.
It's pretty nuts.
Took yourselves out of the time machine.
But when you do that, it helps bring in more. But what I like is how they're funding it. But looking at it, before I get to their funding, this project is set to be finished in time for the 2021 football season. That's not a lot of time.
Nope.
Especially for what they plan on doing, which is state-of-the-art video, lighting, and sound system that they're going to be putting in. That costs a lot of money, takes a lot to run that power, takes a lot, especially in an existing building to do that. New campus-facing entrance, so you're going to build a whole new entranceway.
Yep.
As well as additional seating in the east, on the east part of the stadium.
That's where all the players run down, touch the rock. And,
exactly. Yeah. They're going to add more seating there so you can be closer to the experience. Which, that experience is an amazing one. When you see the players come run down, they're touching Lloyd's Rock at the top. It's crazy. I love it. But as well as 2 new club seating options in the west side of the stadium. But the best part, and now we're going to get back to the funding, is that they're not going to use any public funds or university financial support whatsoever to fund this project.
That's the big thing for me is you see a lot of times where this funding for these stadiums and these upgrades and the locker room upgrades and all that
relies on tax money or public funds.
It relies on public funds, or they end up raising tuition and stuff to do this kind of stuff. But the fact that the program has so much money in it now that they can do this by themselves without any public funds or any financial support from the university, that I think is huge. And I think for all college sports, or in any sports really, professional, college, whatever, I think that should be the way to go moving forward. Because especially we hear almost every year about who's the next one's going to do. Oh, the Oakland A's are the next team that's going to do this.
Oh yes,
where the Chargers were the last team to do this. They wanted a new stadium, but they wanted the public to pay for it. They said no. So what they do? They got up, packed their bag, and left. And they went to L.A. Mm-hmm. Oakland A's are probably going to do the same thing from what I've seen.
Yep.
Is that they've talked about they want the public to give up the other half of the stadium so they can either renovate it or get a new one, and they keep saying no, we don't want to pay for it. So they said, okay, you know what really sounds nice? The Las Vegas Athletics sounds really good right now. And there's a possibility that it could happen.
It should happen, honestly, because they need to be doing better by that franchise. But just to put it into perspective, Clemson in the first year they won the college football playoff national championship, 2016, they had made $54.2 million as an athletic program alone. So if you're able to pull in that kind of money in a year, there's definitely no reason why a lot of these big-time programs can't pay for a lot of their own renovations to be able to bring that better experience, to try and bring in those recruits. Because at the end of the day, this goes back to the whole cash cow thing of college athletics. Universities don't have these kinds of issues. They are able to make money, and not even just make money, but have money given to them on a regular basis from alumni donors and boosters. So they're able to make money regardless. But I do like the fact that they're not going to use any funds. They're just going to do this out of their own pocket, which I think is great, and you're not going to put it on your students.
And they know they're going to make that money back like that.
Oh, easy.
They're going to make that money back for that, especially if Clemson continues their dominance that they have been displaying over the last couple of years. That $60-70 million will be right back within a year.
Yeah, it won't take anything.
Within a year or so.
But that, sadly, is the end of Give or Go, and near the end of our episode. But before we end our episode, we got to take a look at the week ahead. What do we got?
Both the LCS matchups. You got the American League, National League, looking to see does the Washington Nationals continue their dominance and sweep the Cardinals? Cardinals bring it back 2-2 on the road, which is going to be tough. And then the Yankees Astros, that game 2 is tonight at 8:00, and that's going to be a very fun series to watch. That's what I'm looking forward to in baseball.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to some football just because we have the college football week 8 happening. Some of the big marquee matchups, Arizona State traveling out to Utah. It's going to be a battle of ranked teams in the Pac-12. So definitely one to try and keep an eye out for. It's looking to be very exciting as both these teams try to vie for position to make it to the Pac-12 championship game later in the season, as well as Michigan, your Wolverines, making a trip out to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Definitely going to be a huge matchup of ranked teams, and definitely going to be a big one. I hope you guys don't have too much of a hangover when we come to the big house the next week.
I'm scared if I'm a Michigan fan.
Very scared.
Because we looked okay against Illinois early on. Then we looked like crap, and then they ended up winning by 20-some points. But I'm going to be worried because Penn State is rolling really well right now. They can run the football. They actually have no drop-off from McSorley to their new quarterback this year. They're rolling on offense. If you're a Michigan fan, you got to be worried, especially on the road.
I absolutely have to agree, and we'll definitely talk more about that when we release our picks later this week on social media. So definitely make sure that you give us a like, a follow, and drop us a line at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as following us on all of our different outlets for the show on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Play Music. Just search keyword Final Score, and you can find all of our great content there. But sadly, this is the end of our show.
Yeah, quick update on the Carolina-Tampa Bay game if you're not watching that already. Carolina's up 37-26, just over 1 minute left. Ooh. Just over 1 minute left. That's over in London. So
that's gonna be crazy. So
looks like Carolina's gonna pull off that win.
At least we got that pick right. So definitely make sure you join us back when we update you guys next week for episode 33 when we come to you live on Facebook Live. Just make sure, like we said, follow our social media and you'll be able to get the updates there at PCN Final Score, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But I'm Chris. That's Craig. And we thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.
Podcast City Network.